Hi there, welcome back to our channel. In this video, we are reacting to Suga, aka Agust D's Daechwita's explanation video.
Hooray.
We just reacted to the music video and I thought it was amazing. And I had a lot of interpretations of what could possibly be going on in the video. But now I'm excited to actually hear it explained from a Korean perspective.
Yes, I really wanted to watch this video because I'm so confused and I want it to make sense.
I'm just mostly confused about the two Sugas, which I was referring to as King Suga with the blonde hair and New Suga with the black, shorter hair. I just want to know, are they the same person from different time periods? Are they twins, like evil twin, good twin? Is it just a representation of good versus evil? That is what I'm confused about. But I think I picked up on a lot of stuff that was happening in the video. But then there's always more things that I know that I missed.
Right.
So I'm excited to get the explanation.
So am I.
All right, ready to get started?
Yes.
Let's just dive in now.
Let's just dive in because I really want to know.
Okay, here we go.
Maybe I should put my glasses on.
You know what? You should. Go put your glasses on.
Okay.
Now are you ready to get started?
Yes, I am. I've got my glasses and maybe I could read things, the subtitles, and then I could see things more clearly.
Now you'll be able to see New Suga's scar on his face.
Yes, all those details,
All right.
which are pretty important, I'm assuming.
So let's get started.
All right, let's go.
Suga has delivered another hard-hitting mixtape titled D2. The first Agust D album, released in 2016, focused on the tough times Suga faced when he was a teenager. Suga's at a very different place now. He's much older and he's much more successful. And this album focuses on the changes of his feelings after becoming one of music's biggest superstars. It's a very honest album, and my personal favorite off of this is the title track, Daechwita. It's an ultimate flex track / warning / reminder with tons of historical references, so let's take a look into it.
Yeah.
Daechwita is Korean traditional marching music that was played when kings or royalty were moving about or important guests would visit, as well as when army would be marching. There are two main characters in this music video, a King Suga and a bottom class Suga. We can see that the King Suga is a tyrant. He has everyone kneeling down with the faces down in the ground. And he beheads people who have complaints in this scene. You can see the Shinmungo here. People in the Joseon dynasty would hit this drum if they had something that they've been wronged. They'd hit this drum and the king or someone up in the hierarchy would come and sort out their problems. Except here, King Suga is killing the people who have such complaints and issues. But the bottom class Suga, with the help of BTS and army represented by the 6 other men and a woman in the scene, starts a coup. He drives up a car with the men representing BTS and also a cute painting of Bang PD. By the way, this painting has its origins in a Jungkook drawing of Bang PD. It's pretty funny. The King Suga sees this and gives a thumbs down and captures the bottom class Suga. The King Suga wants to kill him and does this graceful sword dance, which apparently Suga learned in 2 days. Meanwhile, bottom class Suga, blindfolded and tied down, starts headbanging, singing Daechwita. Remember how how I told you that Daechwita was played when kings were about, or when the army would be marching. The bottom class Suga singing this is an announcement that he is actually the real king. He feels like he's the king. The people under the king, the very ones that were kneeling to him in the beginning, are now joining Suga, headbanging with him. This Daechwita.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
I didn't notice either.
I didn't notice. Oh, now I can see that they're headbanging with him. So I was kind of right. I was calling this one new Suga, but it's bottom class Suga. I'm still going to refer to him as new Suga just for this video because it's easier to say. But remember I was saying that when King Suga had all the people who were kneeling, it's like they were scared of him. Like, right. Don't show my face because I don't want him to notice me or he'll cut my head off because he's crazy king. And so now I see all those same people, they're revealing their face and they're headbanging with new Suga as if like we support your coup. This guy said a coup.
Right.
And in the other music video, I said basically a rebellion. He was starting a rebellion.
Right, that makes sense.
And I did not pick up on his group behind him that represented BTS and ARMY. I didn't pick up on that. But now that makes sense. He has his like crew with him. And then with the support of these other people, he's starting his coup and his rebellion against the king.
And basically when he's saying Daechwita, is that how you say it? Daechwita, he's calling out to everybody.
Yeah. Oh, that gives me like chills.
Yeah.
Wow.
In the beginning, are now joining Suga, headbanging with him. This Daechwita is also for them. These kneeling people are armies marching together with the bottom class Suga. At the end, the executioner who was supposed to take down the bottom class Suga actually frees him and gives him a gun. Bottom class Suga grabs this and shoots the king. I think the MV and the song is a metaphor for BTS and ARMY taking down the existing system and the ruling forces of the industry. The King Suga represents the system, the existing system, the few powerful companies that had control over the industry before BTS came to the scene. Bottom class Suga is Suga himself in a small company with basically nothing, as if he was born into a bottom class, and winning the people over, eventually taking down the king with BTS and armies. I think Suga picked the perfect motif to convey his message. And if you look at the historical references, you'll be more amazed at how clever this all is.
See, I feel like I was picking up on a lot of those things. But it goes even deeper. Like King Suga actually represents something, and new Suga, bottom class Suga, represents himself, and BTS and ARMY kind of forming a coup, a revolt, a rebellion over this powerful entity that already exists. Like they actually represent something. It's not just for show, just for the music video. He's actually trying to convey a message about something that's actually going on.
Right.
Deep. That is deep.
That's very deep.
Suga, you're amazing.
Wow, this single verse has a lot to unpack, but let's just start with this line. The Joseon Dynasty, which is most likely where the song is set in, had a strict class system where there was a heavy discrimination based on which class you were born into. Slaves were not even considered human. They would be traded in cases their owners didn't have enough money, and they were thought of more as just things. Think about the mistreatment that BTS received earlier on in their careers. They faced heavy discrimination due to them being from a small company, and they were mistreated. So it's easy to understand why Suga called himself a slave here. Slaves in Joseon were almost completely blocked off from advancing to higher classes, so for a slave to become a king is basically impossible. But Suga's saying he made it happen. The following line is a reference to Kwang Hae-gun, the king of Joseon Dynasty, in the 17th century. He developed paranoia while in power and notoriously became violent and reckless, hence the line, "Berserk Tiger, Kwanghae Flow." But I think there are more reasons Suga referenced Kwanghae in the lyrics, especially if you consider what his life was like. Kwanghae-gun had a very roller coaster of a life. Originally, he was a war hero, defending Joseon against the Japanese invasion of 1592, one of the biggest wars in Korean history. His father, who was then king, had fled when the war broke out, and the 18-year-old Prince Kwanghae led Joseon troops in the battlefield. Rarely at this time did kings or to-be kings go out into the battlefield themselves. So Kwanghae, fighting with the people, won their hearts over, and there were movements to throne him as the king instead of his father. The father felt threatened by this, so he made a lot of political efforts to stop Kwanghae from gaining influence. Eventually, Kwanghae became stuck between two large political powers, and this struggle eventually made Kwanghae go paranoid and become violent and reckless. Ultimately, he was dethroned after a coup. I think Suga somewhat relates to Kwanghae, as he himself had been through a tough adolescence, having to go out into the battlefield at an early age, just like Kwanghae did. He was an idol with...
Wow.
See how in-depth and how thought out their lyrics always are? I feel this way about other BTS songs, that they reference historical things, pop culture things, things that happened in history, and they get so deep. Like, you can tell that these guys read and they know a lot about a lot of things to be able to reference all these amazing historical things into their songs.
Right, absolutely.
I mean, really deep for Suga to reference this prince turned king and compare him to himself and basically write this whole song. And then not only compare him to this prince turned king, but also use that as a metaphor for something else.
Right, that's amazing. So,
Genius brain.
Genius, right. Exactly.
Having to go out into the battlefield at an early age, just like Kwanghae did. He was an idol with no money, from a small company stuck in an industry dominated by big corporations. When Suga started winning battles and gaining power, he must felt a lot of efforts from the existing big powers to keep him away from the throne, like what Kwanghae experienced from his father when the people wanted him to become the king. Suga mentions putting his past in the rice chest. For many Koreans, the word Triju, or rice chest, is strongly connected to the tragic story of Sadoseja, which involves him dying in a rice chest. Sadoseja was the son of then King Yeongjo, and his father was extremely harsh on him, humiliating him and scolding him in front of others at a very early age. This became so severe that Sadoseja attempted to commit suicide a few times, but even then, he was treated terribly. He developed what modern doctors diagnose as bipolar disorder and began acting very violently. Eventually, the king ended up hating Sadoseja so much that he orders Sadoseja to go into a rice chest. Sadoseja went in, and he was stuck inside for 8 days and eventually starved to death. Sadoseja had a troubled life, filled with being humiliated and mistreated, and mental health issues just not being understood. Suga has been pretty open about his mental health issues he had when he was growing up, and I think he relates to Sadoseja. He sees himself in him. He says he's putting his past in the rice chest. It's a declaration that he's putting the old troubled Yoongi, the Sadoseja Yoongi, behind and looking at what's ahead of him. In the second verse, Suga focuses more on how he's now on the throne and he's better than everybody else. Suga directly name drops Bang PD and also takes a shot at other artists who do drugs thinking that they write better music while they're high. I won't name any names here, but I'm sure you can think of an artist, or a few artists for that matter, that will be at the butt end of this. Some in bigger companies, in fact.
Ooh, boy!
The diss aside, this line is also a glimpse into Bang PD's relationship with BTS. In a typical company, it'd be extremely difficult to even mention the name of your boss this openly without putting the honorifics 님, especially considering how much a veteran and how much older Bang PD is compared to BTS. However, Suga name draws Bang PD as if he was his friend. We can sense that there is a very close bond and assume that Bang PD is very democratic with BTS. The fact that Suga is talking of Bang PD so casually is a flex of its own to others, as it's a sign that BTS has become so big and valuable to the company that he's at level with Bang PD.
Wow.
That's true, because I know in Korean there are ways to say hello and how to address people casually if they're your friend or somebody in your same age group. And then there is a different way to say hello or to address people who you are trying to owe respect to, somebody who's older or wiser, and you use different language to talk to that person or to reference that person. So I would have never put that connection on there that he was referencing him as more of a friend, and that in itself was basically a flex, saying we made it, we're good friends with him.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
That he doesn't control them, and he's not a puppeteer, controlling BTS and what they do, that he does give them the artistic freedom to be themselves and to make their own music and write their own lyrics and produce their own songs.
Yeah, that's incredible.
And that in itself is just showing that he has respect for BTS as artists, even though they're younger or they're newer than other K-pop groups, or they're from a smaller company, that there's this air of mutual respect. And that really kind of is an ultimate goal.
Right, exactly. Wow, that's pretty deep.
Now this is an interesting bit. Here Suga uses the Korean word 현타. Hentai is an interesting Korean slang that is used all around the internet. Directly translated as wise man's time, it is a word to describe the feeling you get right after you've ejaculated, yes, ejaculated, and you feel no more sexual urges, and you have a moment of clarity in your brain. You feel still, present, and sometimes disappointed that the short moment of satisfaction was all you got and you worked so hard for it. This slang originated from Japan, but it has become a staple in Korean everyday language, and it is widely used in everyday life outside of sexual situations. Usually in situations when you finally got what you dearly wanted and you wonder, that was it? Suga's saying he's feeling extreme 현타 because he has it all. He has money, he has clothes, he has everything he ever wanted, and there's no one above him. While this could be considered a small cry for help, I think within the context of this song, it's more of a hard flex. He's saying, others can only dream of what I have, but now I got everything and I feel bored and disappointed. But you won't know how I feel because you never had any of this.
I think that's why he's always so quiet. He's more on the quiet side because he really is from humble beginnings. And he probably just is deep down a really, really, really good person. And maybe somewhere in him, he feels he doesn't deserve all the good things that are happening to him because of how hard he had to fight his whole life. And I think sometimes people feel that way, even though he's totally deserving of all the success that he has because he's so extremely talented and creative. But I feel like some people, even when they reach a certain level of success, they question if they deserve it just because of how difficult and tumultuous their past was. They still in their head, have depression and have these other mental health issues that make them feel unworthy.
And that is really too bad if he really honestly feels that way.
That's just my interpretation of that what this guy just said was explaining in the lyrics. That feeling, that word, hunta, that basically this 1 second of pleasure basically is all you get for all of your hard work. And so it's kind of a depressing term. So with Suga saying that, that's my interpretation of him using that word in his song. That, you know, he's finally made it, but that he's not he's still not satisfied. And maybe in my interpretation is that maybe because he had such a troubled past, he just doesn't feel like he deserves it, which is just not true.
It's not true, but I can understand if you come from a troubled past, that kind of sets you up for your, you know, your thoughts.
Yeah.
You know, and how you feel about yourself, whether you accept yourself or you still feel like you're not deserving, because maybe those voices in the past that used to put you down kind of takes over without you even realizing. I can understand that.
Some old thoughts are really hard to shake.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
BTS has been on the top for the past few years, absolutely dominating, with a level of popularity that has never been seen in K-pop before. They're so dominant that it's sometimes easy to forget that they too had humble beginnings. In fact, more humble than most top artists out now today. They had to fight their way through discrimination, mistreatment, and humiliation. Daechwita is a reminder that this was where they started, and they took that system down. And it's also a warning that they had the resilience and the force to go through all of this, to go from slave to king. If you want us to make more videos like this, supporting us on patreon.com/DKDKTV helps us a lot. These explain videos get copyright claimed, thus we make no money off of them, 0 cents. So please consider supporting us on patreon.com/DKDKTV. For just a cup of coffee a month, you can get exclusive content and also help us continue our careers. And until next time, bye-bye.
Well,
what a great video.
I'm definitely subscribing to him, and I'm definitely going to explain, because now I understand. He did an excellent job explaining it.
Yes.
I finally get it. Yay.
So it goes really deep, like with this whole historical thing, talking about these old kings from past dynasties, and then not only bringing those references into the song, but then also using those idol icons as kind of a metaphor for other things. The industry, the K-pop industry, and then BTS kind of rising from the bottom and having to fight and claw their way to become the success that they are. I mean, just so incredibly genius. And Suga even says, I'm a genius. Well, you are, Suga.
Yes, he is. To come up with this is genius.
It's not just writing lyrics. I mean, it's so much more than that. I mean, you can just write lyrics about love or about, you know, past experiences, but to get that in depth and creative and all the little connections and, you know, shove his past in the rice, what was it?
The rice box.
The rice box. I mean, just little references like that. So creative, and that's like genius level stuff.
It is.
It's like poetry, but in rap form.
To even come up with that and have all these metaphors is like you said, it's genius.
Yeah. I knew that I was catching on to a lot in the music video, but that maybe the main theme of who is this King Suga and who is this new Suga, I knew I was kind of missing the point of that. The other things I could kind of figure out, like there was obviously a coup going on, or I called it a rebellion, and then the guy the executioner, you know, who was executing people in the beginning based off of the king, the evil tyrant king, was now releasing new Suga and then handing him the gun to basically end this tyrant king's rule. And so I kind of got all of that, but the deeper stuff, like what it actually represents, I knew I was missing that key information. But this explanation video was excellent.
Yes, excellent.
I feel like I have a new appreciation for this song and the video and everything that it took to make all of it.
Just to sit down from the very start and to, imagine it.
Yeah.
And then to write it out. I mean, I don't know what his process is. I'm assuming writing it all out, and maybe he's a heavy reader and knows a lot about history, and he compares the king from hundreds of years ago to corporation, that there's not a whole lot of difference between them.
Using those two as the metaphor.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's genius.
This was great. I loved this. So we have more Suga solo songs from his new album coming up that we're going to react to. And we know that there's kind of a trilogy here, so we're going to make sure to react to the second one in the trilogy, just to kind of keep it in order so we don't get too confused. And then we'll always do, if there is an explanation video out there, we will react to that too, because this was just really eye-opening and really helped me appreciate the song even more.
So much more, and to understand what's going on.
Yeah.
Now I completely get it now. He's done an excellent job explaining.
Yeah, and I think it even helped me learn more about Suga and who he is.
Right, he's a deep thinker.
I didn't know that he had such a difficult past. I knew that all the guys were from humble beginnings, but I didn't know specifically any of that information about Suga. So I think it really changes my perspective on him and makes me appreciate him even more. So this was so great. Thank you if you made it this far, and if you've watched it this far, thank you so much. Please give it a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe to our channel. Check out our Patreon. We have a lot of cool stuff on there as well. And we'll see you in the next video.
Thank you for watching.
Bye.
Bye.